Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to day 3 of the Purpose Party. I am so excited about today. What a great time we have been having here at the Purpose Party. I'll tell you what, I've never felt such a deeper conviction about women living their purpose. If you are jumping on live, say hi in the comments. Let me know you're here. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Good morning. If you're watching the replay, comment hashtag replay. I see you jumping on. I see everybody jumping on here. Say hello in the comments. Let me know who's here. I cannot see who's here unless you comment. And so that helps me just to know who's here with me. I'm so excited. If you have not watched the replays yet, make sure that you get caught up. I'll leave the replays up for at least the rest of the week and into maybe through the end of the holiday on Monday. Go watch the replay, day 1 and day 2. This is so powerful. I feel like this has been, there's so many breakthroughs. I've been getting messages from so many of you, having so many deep conversations on the side about living with purpose. Hey, good morning, Connie. Okay, sounds good. No problem. I'm so glad you're here. You can always go back and rewatch it and make some comments if you want to, but I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you. Connie, we need to catch up. But I am very excited. If you're jumping on live, let me know in the comments you're here. If you're watching replay, hey Debbie, good morning. Good morning. All right, Aaron, good morning. I see everybody jumping on. It's so exciting. Susie, good morning. Okay. So I am so excited that you girls have been showing up. You've been hanging in there with me. I really wanted to take 3 days to dive deep into this and really spend time with you. So, over the last 3 days, we started out on Monday and we really started talking about the problem being unintentional wreaks in our life. And when you are not living with purpose, when you are living haphazardly, you end up with a bad case of the uns and the overs, right? Unintentional, unsure of yourself, unfulfilled. What were some of the other uns and overs that you can remember? Let me know in the comments if you think of any. We talked about all the uns and the overs. And, if you're here watching this, you are not, I know you are not lazy. You are not, being unintentional because you have nothing else to do. You are a busy, kind-hearted, good-hearted woman, but you probably get distracted by chronic busyness. And I am taking a hard line in the sand, I'm drawing a hard line in the sand, and I want you to do the same thing today. Chronic busyness does not mean you are living with purpose. In fact, if you are chronically busy, if you are overserving, overgiving, overachieving, overdoing, overcompensating in your relationships, overgiving, that is actually a way that we avoid being purposeful. And so I want you to draw that line in the sand today with me, that no more uns and overs, no more over giving, overdoing anything comes from a place of lack. And if you come from a place of lack, you subconsciously, it comes from a subconscious belief that I'm not enough. That is the result, or the underlying mindset, I should say, underneath even over giving, overachieving, over serving. Yes, unclear, unsure, unappreciated. Do I have any over over givers in their relationships? How many of you over give and over serve? You are the go-to person. You're the fix-it girl. You probably carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, but the problem is you look good doing it. And so everybody thinks that you can handle more. So they keep coming to you. But because you're not focused on your purpose, your giving and your over serving is exhausting you, and it leads to burnout. And this is where we get trapped on the deadly D circle. Sorry, the deadly D cycle. Now, I did not make up the deadly D. I mean, I did not get the deadly D cycle off of the internet. I didn't just go, oh, let me go find something. This literally was my hamster wheel. This was my life. This was what happened to me. And I imagine if you're here that you feel stuck on this same hamster wheel. And so it really starts off with just chronic busyness delaying your dreams. And we talked about a big dream yesterday, because your big dream is, I'm going to bring it full circle today. Your destiny, your purpose ultimately is to soar, but you have to work out what does soaring look like for you. And so you're not destined to stay stuck in the cocoon. You're not destined to stay trapped in a caterpillar body. You are destined to endure the process of transformation, let go of the woman you become so that you can become the woman God created you to be, and live in the most fruitful, fulfilling, effective season of your life. There are people that are waiting for you to rise up. But if you continue to be distracted by chronic busyness, overgiving, overserving, overdoing, overachieving, any of those things, over-delivering, any of those, then it delays your dreams, and your dreams are linked to your soaring. And so you will not make the biggest impact that you are called to make if you're stuck in the uns and the overs, if you're stuck on the deadly D cycle. And so remember that your dream, a big dream, is a vision of who you are outside of your perceived limitations. Right now, you've been seeing yourself in with perceived limitations, but those limitations are not true. You might say, I don't have time, I don't have money. Whatever you blame, you hand your power over to. There's a Bible verse, I believe it's 2 Peter, it says that you have everything that you need that pertains to a life of godliness. You lack nothing. You may not have the resources in your hand, but you are a resourceful woman, and you can go find resources because God created you to be resourceful so that you never lack resources. You don't even lack time. And so we have to go through a process of learning to govern the money and the time and the energy that we have. So there's not a lack of it. It's just been a misgoverning of it. And so as a powerful chooser, you can govern your time, money, and energy in a way that supports you living out your purpose to the fullest. We're going to, next month, I'm going to do, you can watch on, I think June 14th, you can watch for this. I'm going to do the Wealthy Woman's Workshop, and that's what we're going to do next month. You can watch for that. Make sure you get signed up for that, because that is really powerful. But one of the things we talk about in there is that sometimes we have debt, and so you feel guilt and shame about that debt. But when you think about why do you have that debt, maybe that debt was to help you get through something that you had to get through. Maybe that debt was to help you live life to the fullest, start a business, start a venture, feel good about, maybe some clothes or something like that. Like reframing even your debt in that, like, it's a resource. And so I'm not telling you to go get in debt, but I am saying that, like, it's time to let go of the guilt and the shame of things like even debt that you may have used as a resource to keep rising up, to keep being resilient. And so like it's time for us to let go of guilt and shame and staying small. Those are all caterpillar, what I call caterpillar residue. And so anyway, the deadly D cycle, let me get back to that. I got off on a little tangent, but hold on, I'm going to go back to what I was just saying. I want you, if you have debt and you've been feeling guilt and shame about your debt, I want you to go write a love letter to your debt and write all the things, the ways that your debt has blessed you. And I'm telling you, it will shift your mindset and around not just debt, but around yourself and the way that you have beat yourself up about that. And I'm telling you, when you do that, you will get out of debt about 10 times faster when you take the guilt and shame off of it. So, okay, let me get off that tangent. We'll talk about that next month. So chronic busyness delays your dreams. That's the first deadly D, delay. And then, you look around and you tell yourself, I should be further along. I should be more successful. I should be wealthier. I should be healthier. I should be somewhere else, something else. Has anybody ever been stuck shoulding? Say shoulding in the comments if you have been stuck shoulding all the time. I should be here. I should be there. That is a declaration of I am not enough. Whenever you say I should be here, I should be this, I should have done that, that is a declaration over yourself of I am not enough. And so you should be exactly where you are. You should be where you are in this moment, because where you are in this moment, you've done the best that you could with the resources and the knowledge and the wisdom that you had access to in this moment. So type freedom in the chat if you are taking that away today and you are stepping into a new level of freedom, releasing yourself from the shoulds. Type freedom in the chat and declare it. You no longer have to should yourself to death. Yes, Aaron. Yes, Debbie. Amen. Like, no more shoulding. So the next D is, then you're saying I should be all of this. Yes, Cindy, freedom. Connie, freedom. So, I should be here. I should be that. Then the next is, disappointment. So then, Laura, freedom. So then you feel disappointed in yourself. You feel disappointed in life. That's the next D. And what if life could have turned out differently? And that opens the door to regret and maybe even sometimes resentment. And so, but because you are a fighter, because you are a high achieving woman, because you are resilient, you don't have time for disappointment, right? And so what do? You deny your feelings. That's the next D. You deny your feelings. You focus on everyone else to make sure they're okay, but you put your feelings on the back burner. So you deny yourself. What do? You pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You keep moving on. Become as busy as you can. And that's the next D. You distract yourself with more doing, and you run around like a chicken without its head. Come on, somebody wave at me in the comments if you're feeling what I'm putting down right now. You run around like a chicken without your head, and so but you distract yourself with more doing, because it dulls that voice, that inner voice of disappointment and beating yourself up. And so yeah. Cindy, yeah. So and then you lay your head on the pillow at night and you feel like a diminished version of yourself. This was my hamster wheel. I stayed stuck on this hamster wheel constantly, and it drained, and then you end up drained and depleted, and this is where the death of your dreams begins to happen. And the thing is that your dreams, like I said earlier, your dreams are, it's linked to your soaring, and soaring is your ultimate destination. It is your purpose. But working it out, what does that look like to you? What does soaring look like for you? So we're going to talk about that today. How to soar. You hear me say this a lot. My book is called Summon to Soar. What does it mean for a woman to soar? Well, after 35 years of coaching and mentoring women and walking this out on a daily basis for myself, I believe that where you are today is a result of your belief in yourself. And so in order to step into soaring, it has to do with your belief that soaring is possible and that soaring is your destiny. And so, here's, I'm going to give you an acronym for soaring. So soar, your destiny is to soar. Remember that as the butterfly flaps her wings, she's out there living with purpose and doing what God called her to do. And then as she is busy just living her purpose, then she catches the tailwind. And when she catches the tailwind, she rides the tailwind. The tailwind does all the work. She gets to rest, and the tailwind takes her places she never dreamed she could go. This is where God begins to open up doors that you didn't even know were available to you. But you can't soar if you're hiding in trees like a caterpillar. And so for the first step in soaring, the S is to surrender. Type that in the chat, surrender. You have to surrender to the process. And so chronic busyness has become your comfort zone. And so it's easier for you to distract yourself with chronic busyness than it is to live with more purpose. One of the conversations I had yesterday with a lady who's been on watching the Purpose Party is, she said, I'm in a hard season right now because she is removing all of the layers that she had buried her purpose, that she had used to bury her purpose, all the things that she had said yes to that were burying her purpose, and all the things that she had said no to. And so she's in this season of having to go back and say no to some things that she said yes to that were not linked to her purpose. They were actually masking her purpose. Living with purpose is not hard. Sometimes unmasking, that can be the hard part. And that's where you need the support. That's where you need the accountability. That's where you need, just like in the cocoon, the silk that lines the cocoon, you need that support, that softness, that someone to support you in this process. So the first step is to surrender to the process. And what this does is, this is a moment in time where you stop burning the candle at both ends. You stop running around like a chicken without your head cut off, without a head, and you stop trying to keep all the plates spinning. and you take some time to observe your thoughts and really decide which ones are no longer serving me. What are all the things that I've been doing that have been keeping me from living with purpose? And so, you know, the cocoon and the grave can feel very much the same. They're both dark, lonely places. And so this is an inward work that you have to do. What happens is most women avoid this step like the plague because it is a season of real deep self-reflection. And so this is where, this is where the breakthroughs really begin to happen, because this is taking off all the layers. And when that caterpillar goes into the cocoon, enzymes are released that liquefy her. The outer shell of the caterpillar has to be dissolved because the DNA of the butterfly is trapped inside of the caterpillar, and the DNA of your purpose is trapped inside of you, but you have to go through a process of shedding that old caterpillar encasement. And that's the first step, is to surrender to the process. Okay, O is for overcoming. So type that in the chat, overcome. You have to overcome your obstacles so that you can really begin to live a more purposeful life. So your obstacles, you know, if I was to ask you, what are your biggest problems right now? You know, you might say money, or you might say a certain person. You know, you might say your job, or you might say something else. But your obstacles are not outside of you. Your obstacles are your thinking. It's what you believe about yourself and what's possible. Those are your obstacles. And so you have to go through a process of identifying what have your survival mindsets been, and shift them from surviving to thriving. What happens is we go through a season of something we have to survive, and thank God we have survival instincts, and so we are able to use those to get through whatever we have to go through. But what happens is once we get through that, those survival instincts worked for us, and so they become our comfort zone. And so they never get challenged, and so you just keep on operating out of those old survival mindsets. And so, you know, an old survival mindset might be like shutting down emotionally. It might be exploding emotionally. It might be reverting to tears instead of identifying what the problem is. It might be, you know, getting more busy, distracting yourself with more busyness. It might be depression, anxiety, fear, worry, doubt. Those are all survival mindsets that worked for you at one time. But in order for you to step into thriving and soaring, you have to overcome those obstacles that are in your mind, not outside of you. When you overcome the obstacles in your mind, then your life begins to shift automatically. And so your biggest roadblocks are you might even think one of your biggest roadblocks is that you need more confidence. I hear this a lot of times. I need more confidence. I need more peace. I need more joy. Again, you have everything you need inside of you. And so it's a matter of tapping into what's already inside of you. That is a part of overcoming those obstacles. Taking the time to really identify what are those go-to thoughts that because if you are ready to step into a thriving, soaring season of life, but you're still operating out of survival mindset, survival thinking, That's why you sabotage yourself. Has anybody ever gotten like you're like, okay, I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to just, I can do this. It's a new year, new day, whatever. And you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready to lose that weight. I'm ready to stand up for myself, whatever it might be. And then like you do it for a couple days or a couple weeks, and then you're right back where you started. That's called sabotage. And the reason you sabotage yourself is because when you don't take the time to overcome the obstacles in your thinking, then you sabotage yourself back to survival, because survival is your comfort zone. And your brain is designed to keep you safe. And so your brain, every time you're ready to step up into a new season of life, your brain tells every fiber of your being that it's not safe for you to thrive. And so your brain is doing what it's supposed to. Because our brain is designed to keep us safe, it keeps you from walking off a cliff, which is great. We're thankful for that. But your brain also sees thriving as a threat. And that's why your brain will trick you that, wait, that's too much for you to handle to thrive. It's too much for you to handle to soar. So you have to go through this process of surrendering to the process and overcoming those obstacles. And I'm going to be honest with you, you can't do that alone. You can do it alone, but it's hard and it takes longer. You need support. If you've been trying to do it alone up until now and it hasn't been working, then what makes you think doing more of the same is going to work this time? And so you have to have support. You have to have accountability to get you through this step. And so let's go to A. SOAR. A is for autonomy. The third step to fulfilling your God-given purpose is autonomy. Type that in the chat. Autonomy. What is autonomy? The word autonomy, it means self-government. And this is a real important step that a lot of women miss, because we haven't been taught as little girls to be autonomous. We look to everyone else to validate us. We look to everyone else to make us feel like we're good enough, that we're okay. We've been in the habit of looking at what we have or what we do to prove that we are enough. And so what happens is that we blame our situations, we blame our past, we blame our circumstances, we blame someone else's words, we blame our feelings, we blame, well, they said this to me, that made me feel that way. Whatever you blame, you hand your power over to. If you blame what someone said to you, then for your feelings, then you've handed all your power over to them. So in other words, you can't feel good until they feel good about you. And it keeps you completely powerless. And when you're powerless, you're not governing yourself. So we're talking about that nasty word that nobody wants to admit, but this is where it identifies and highlights where you're still living as the victim. You are not a victim. You are a victor. You're an overcomer. But there are things and places in your life where you're still living as a victim. And you have to step into self-leadership. I talked to somebody the other day, and we were talking about, sometimes you feel like there's people are in a certain club, and people like if you don't have this, you're not like in the club. And when you're not like in the club, then it's easy to feel like left out or rejected. Has anybody ever been there? Anybody ever felt that way? Like there's some club that you're not a part. Not that there's an actual club, but in your mind there's a club that you're kind of locked out of. And so, but if you think, oh, if I had this, then I would be a part of that club and I would be accepted. And so you are accepted right now. Part of that governing, self-governing, is to know, like, you define who you are. I am accepted. I am good enough. I am valuable. I validate myself. This is all a part of self-leadership. And even, okay, somebody's going to walk away with some freedom today. I was rejected in my life. I was the queen of rejection. I felt, of being rejected. I walked around feeling rejected all the time. Can anybody relate? Type rejected in the chat if you can relate to this. I walked around feeling rejected all the time. And then I was rejected by my husband. I was rejected by the people in the community around me that I had grown up with. And I'm going to tell you the truth, like I even felt rejected by God. But one day I realized that a part of this self-governance and this me governing my own life well and being autonomous was having this realization that I accept myself. So I already know God accepts me, right? Like God has accepted me and I have his word on that. But the problem was not that other people were rejecting me. The problem was I rejected myself. So when I made that shift and became the leader in my own life and I said, I accept myself, now because you're accepted, it's impossible to be rejected. You can't be rejected if you're already accepted. And so now, guess what? If somebody rejects me, it's their action. It's not my identity. Woo! Who's taking that away today? You no longer have to carry the shroud of rejection. Just accepting yourself and knowing that you, and beginning to govern your own thoughts, to begin to govern your own thoughts, patterns, and emotions. And no, I will not allow someone's actions to define me. But in order to do that, you have to define who you are. You have to know your mission, your vision, your purpose, your passion, your potential, your intrinsic core values, your personality. When you have taken the time to define yourself, nothing you go through, nothing anyone says to you can ever define you again. Cindy, it just becomes feedback. That's right. And it's their actions. And this is where we also practice in coaching. We learn how to practice letting go of responsibility for other people's feelings, walking on eggshells, all those things. We learn how to really take responsibility for our own thoughts, patterns, and emotions. That is the only thing that you have control over. That is power. That is true power. Power is not what you like controlling someone outside of you. Power is the ability to control your own thoughts, patterns, and emotions. And you have to learn how to do this. We're not taught how to do this as women. And so, I grew up in church. I knew that I had a call on my life since I was in the 3rd grade. And I stayed true to that call, even in the midst of my world getting turned upside down and all hell breaking loose. And I knew my identity in Christ backwards and forwards, but I did not know my identity as a woman. And so really, I'm jumping into the R. I'm getting ahead of myself. The R stands for reinventing yourself. So we've got surrender, overcome, becoming autonomy, and then reinvent. You have to reinvent yourself as the most authentic version of who God created you to be. I knew my identity in Christ, but I did not know my identity as a woman. And so that's why I'm so passionate about walking women through this, this process of identifying who you are, why you're here, what you're here to do. Eli Wilde said, "Who you are is who you've become, but who you've become is learned." And I love this quote because who you are today is just a result of the conditioning that you've gone through. It's just a result of the experiences your circumstances, your past, and what you've allowed those things to do, you've allowed those things to define you. But it's not who you truly are. And so who you are today is a result of who you've become. But today, let me start over. I got tongue-tied. Who you are today is who you've become, but who you've become is learned. If that's true, then who you are today can change, because you can get back in touch with the most authentic version of who God created you to be. But it is a process. You have to go through that process. So here's the thing. The problem is that who you are today cannot sustain if you've got caterpillar residue, if you're still stuck in the cocoon, if you're hiding in trees, if you're hiding your true identity like the caterpillar. Who you are today cannot sustain you in your soaring season. And so you have to go through a process of letting go of the woman you become, letting go of that caterpillar version of you, and becoming the butterfly version of who God created you to be, so that you can begin to use your wings so that you can catch the tailwind, because the tailwind is waiting for you. It's there. It's you positioning yourself to catch the wind. And so this is where you're going to step into a season of greater fulfillment, fruitfulness, and freedom. And you're going to be able to step into the call, because I know if you're on here that I believe that you know you have a call to something greater, and life has kept you stuck. Life has kept you trapped. And I believe that you know instinctively that there is more for you, and that's why you're here today. And so you have been summoned to soar. So really stepping into that soaring season is embracing the process of unbecoming, like we talked about yesterday. Enduring the process of transformation, evolving into the most authentic version of who God created you to be, and then emerging out of the cocoon, being unafraid to be seen and heard and known, and then ready for elevation, acceleration, and restoration, because that is your destiny. And that's what I do. I take you on that process, and we do that in 12 weeks. And so if you want to know how to become a part of that, we do that in the Rise Academy. I'm opening the Rise Academy. We're starting in June. It's 12 weeks. If you go through this cohort, you will be able to, you'll finish in time to walk the stage in September and graduate at the Roar and Soar conference. So the Roar and Soar conference, that'll be in September, and we're going to have a graduation on the Saturday evening. You'll be able to walk the stage. But the Rise Academy, this is where we spend 12 weeks together, and you will reconnect to your purpose. You will reinvent yourself from the inside out, and then you will rewrite the next chapter of your life the way you want it to look. Some of you have been stuck for way too long. It is time to create a shift. And it is time to stop allowing more of the same old, stuck in the same hamster wheel. It's time to break free. So I told you that we were going to, this week was about your purpose and identifying your purpose. So I want to know from you, what is waking up inside of you? What do you feel like at this point your purpose is? If you had to write it in a statement form, what would you say your purpose is? Do you know what it is? What is your passion statement? What are the things that light your soul on fire? Your passion, remember we talked about your passion and your purpose are not the same. Your passion is, what do you do for you? What do you do that makes you, that fuels your fire so that you can keep living with purpose? So your homework is to write your purpose statement, write your passion statement. In the Rise Academy, we actually go through this step by step. I walk you through this process so that you do not have a misappropriated purpose and get stuck again. We do a purpose audit, and then we write your mission statement, vision statement, intrinsic core values, passion statement, potential statement, and personality. We work on your really developing, I call it an identity makeover. So you get a makeover in the Rise Academy. But I have some questions for you. Here's what I want you to think about. I want you to journal about these things also. What are your biggest problems when it comes to your purpose? And if you've got something and you want to put it in the chat, I'll coach you right here. I'll stay on and I'll coach you right on the spot. What are your biggest problems when it comes to your purpose? What are your biggest pain points when it comes to not living intentionally? Like, what feels like it's tripping you up the most? I want to know. And what problems is this causing in your life? So if you let me know, even after this video is over, if you let me know in the comments, I'll coach you in the chat here. But I want to know, what are the problems that it's causing you not to live with purpose? And then take some time to dive into, what do you think your purpose statement is? What is your passion statement? And remember, the two are not the same. So what are some of your questions for me, your feedback? Give me your biggest aha moments. As we bring this thing to a close, I just want to go over quickly just a little more about what happens inside of the Rise Academy. And then I'll put a link if you want to do a clarity call. If you want to know more, let's get on the phone. We'll just chat about it, and I'll answer your questions, coach you on the spot. But what are your biggest takeaways so far? Leave me what's been happening inside of you this week? As you've been watching the purpose, as you've been involved in the purpose party, what has been happening inside of you? I want to know, what are your biggest takeaways, your biggest aha moments? As you're putting those in the comments, I'm going to just go over the Rise Academy a little bit further. Here's the process. I want you to know what the process is. There is a process that is tried and true. I've helped hundreds of women completely change their lives. And so the first thing we do is we create a solid foundation of sustainable confidence. And sustainable confidence is confidence that cannot be stripped away by failure, fear, or it cannot be even threatened by your imperfections. And so in the Rise Academy, we are going to create a solid foundation of sustainable confidence, because that is the first thing that is going to absolutely alter the rest of your life. And you'll reconnect to your brilliance. Your purpose is your brilliance. Remember, your sweet spot, your zone of genius. And I do that using what I call the selfie method. It's a really fun way that I take you through, that you're able to really develop this confidence that cannot be taken away from you anymore. And what we do is we equip you with the tools that you need to let go of self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck. We provide scientifically proven systems that I have worked long and hard on to help you reprogram your mind from surviving to thriving. I help you step into your true personal power without overpowering others and you controlling your own thoughts, patterns, and emotions. I teach you how to set boundaries and eliminate low value thinking. Oh boy, did I freeze? I don't know if I froze. Hopefully you can still see me on here. I have a crazy look at that. Looks like I got frozen for a minute. I've got some people falling off. If you're still here with me, let me know. Aaron, if you're on live with me still, let me know, and I will coach you on that. I've let others define who I am. Okay, I see some of you coming back. All right, good. Let me know if you're here. Okay, still here. Good. I got frozen for a minute. Had a crazy look on my face, of course. But let me, good. Debbie, God is stirring something up inside of you. That's amazing. Okay, and so, listen, when you get out of your own way, you invite new opportunities. Aaron, great. I'm so glad you're still here. When you get out of your own way, you invite new opportunities, relationships, and possibilities. You have a blueprint that you can use for tapping into a secret source of confidence that most women don't know about. And that's what we do in the Rise Academy. Step 2 is we show you how to connect to your true identity using the Identity Makeover Method. It is a blueprint for authenticity. I'll help you identify your unique personality and your traits, your gifts, and your calling. I'll help you reawaken dormant dreams. I'll help you go through a process of clarifying your passions, potential, core values. I'll guide you through answering doing a purpose audit, make sure your purpose is on point, and I'll help you anchor in your mission, vision, and purpose. And when you do this, you really are able to anchor in and then amplify your purpose and fulfill your purpose. And that is linked to soaring. You'll have a game plan to live in hot pursuit of your purpose without things standing in your way. And then step 3, what we do in the Rise Academy is we walk you through a proven process, step by step, of re-scripting the narrative of your life. In other words, the story you've been telling yourself. And I help you rewrite the next chapter of your life with purpose, power, and passion. And we do that using the Once Upon a Time Story method. And it is a proven method I've taken hundreds of women through. Many of you, if you're going to be at the conference in September, you're going to be reading your story. And I'm so excited. This is like the culmination of your graduation from the 12 weeks. And it's so powerful. And when you do this, you have the methods to actually magnetize your dreams and pull them toward you and your desires. And you get to put yourself on your own to-do list and make yourself a priority. And I teach you how to have engaging conversations and create win-win scenarios. And so you learn how to communicate better. When you can communicate with yourself, you know who you are, why you're here, and what you're here to do, you can communicate better with others. And so, and then I show you how to turn your disappointments into divine appointments. And so the Rise Academy, I'm going to be posting a link for you to schedule a call if you want to know more. If you want to schedule your call right now, just say Clarity Call and I will get you the link to schedule the call. We can get on the phone. It is a free call. There's no obligation, but it's a very powerful time that we can get on and just talk about good next steps for you. And so if you're here, I know that you're here for a reason and your heart is hungering for more. And so if that's you, don't let, I don't have time, I don't have money, don't let those things stand in your way anymore. There's always a way around. Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable. And so So I type clarity call in the chat. If you're listening to the replay, type clarity call in the chat and I will get you the link. We'll get on the phone together and we'll have a deep, deep conversation. I promise you, you will not regret it. So, okay, so Aaron, let me get back to you. And if there's anybody else that, even if you're watching replay and you want some coaching on here, let me know what it is in the comments. So you said, I've let others define who I am. What are the prices that you pay for letting other people define you? If you're with me still, Aaron, if you'll type that in the chat, what are the prices that you pay for letting other people define you? Let me know in the comments. What are some of the prices you pay? What are your, and if anybody else, as I'm talking to Aaron, let me know your biggest takeaways. Come on. What is God doing in your life right now? What are you hearing? What is waking up inside of you? What are you taking away from this week? We've had a very powerful week talking about purpose. Aaron, I'm going to stick in there. I know there's a little delay. Even if I don't hear from you, if you type in the chat, I will answer. Okay, there she is. Listening to what others say. Okay, so not listening to what God says. Yeah. And so what are the prices that you pay for that? What prices do you pay for listening to others and not what God says about you? What are the prices you're paying for that? Let me know in the comments. What are the prices you're paying for listening to what others are saying and not what God says about you? Not reaching my dreams. Yeah, that's right. Okay, we're going to dig a little bit deeper. What prices are you paying for not reaching your dreams? Yeah, that's right. Not having confidence. That's right. And so what are the prices you're paying for not having confidence? What is that costing you? Not having confidence is costing you. What is it costing you? What is not reaching your dreams and not having confidence? What is it costing you? If you're listening in, not being where you want to be in life. Yes. So let's dig just a little bit deeper. Aaron, what is it costing you not to, yes, totally paralyzed. Yeah, Laura, not to paralyze. That's right. Aaron, what is it costing you to not be where you want to be in life? Is it costing you anxiety? Is it costing you frustration? Is it costing your peace? What is it costing you? It's costing you something. It's costing you deeply. Yeah, and Laura, how does that feel to feel totally paralyzed? Like, what are the feelings that come with being paralyzed? Yeah, frustration, anxiety, peace. That's right. Those are the things that it's costing you. Now, I'm going to ask you a very crazy question, Aaron and Laura, because you're hanging in there with me. I'm going to ask you a crazy, crazy question. What are the rewards that you get for letting other people define you? Now, let me give you a hint. You cannot say that you don't get anything out of it, because as human beings, we don't do anything unless we get something out of it. Okay, nothing. Okay, Aaron said nothing. Yes. So that's what everybody says. So it's okay, Aaron, but that's not true. As human beings, we don't do anything unless we get something out of it. So you get something out of letting other people define you. It benefits you in some way. How does it benefit you? You don't want to share your misery with anyone. Okay, good. So Laura, what do you get out of, what are the rewards that you get out of being alone, feeling isolated? Yes, approval. Aaron, yes, you get approval from others. So we've just identified, like, this is what you're getting out of it. The problem is, if you're waiting on approval from someone else, you're completely at the mercy of their approval. And so this brings me back to what I was saying earlier with the autonomy, that this is where you have to go through a process of you approving of yourself. And how do you approve of yourself? You get to know who you are at a deep level, and you begin to fall in love with yourself and believe in yourself at a whole new level. And so because when you are stuck waiting for the approval of others, this is what it keeps you in the victim role. And so if you want to move forward, you have to shift out of, you cannot go into the next season of your life. You cannot break free staying in the victim role. So Laura, Aaron, anybody else that's listening, what is your takeaway from this exercise right here? What is your takeaway from this exercise right here? Laura, Aaron, because you're sticking with me, give me some feedback. What is your takeaway? And then let me know, what is your takeaway from this weekend overall? Sorry, these last 3 days overall. Start now. Yes, that's right. Start now. Laura, what will you start now? What exactly are you declaring that you will start now? Yes, Aaron, that you need to work on liking yourself, and you know how you get to like yourself is you get to know yourself, and so how did you, if you're married, yeah, no blame shifting. That's right. Taking ownership, yes, and so that's so good, ladies. So I am going to actually grab the link here. I'm going to put it in the chat for the clarity call. I want to encourage you girls to schedule your call. No more waiting, no more hesitating. Here is the link for a clarity call. If you are watching this, if you're watching the replay, and you know that you are so done staying a caterpillar, then I want you to schedule your call today. It is time for you ladies to rise up. You have been summoned to soar. Okay, I'm going to close it out. We've been here almost an hour. Thanks for hanging with me, but I am going to declare this over you. Here's what happens when a woman begins to soar. Soaring is possible. Soaring is your destiny. Thank you, Aaron. I love you. You're amazing. Thank you so much. We were roomies one time at a conference, right? I remember that. Okay, I'm going to declare this over you to wrap up the purpose party. Here's what happens when a woman soars. I want you to let this wash over you, and I want you to know this is what's possible. And you can't get there alone. You need support. And that's why I have the Rise Academy. But I want you to know, here's what's possible. When a woman soars, a new breed of woman, a woman with wings. A woman with wings, her life is accelerated and she makes up for lost time. She is elevated and doors seem to open to her easily and effortlessly. Abundance flows to her without her having to chase it. She sees restoration. Her ashes are turned to beauty. She governs her life well. She taps into her resources and goes after what she wants without feeling guilty even if she doesn't hold the resources in her hands. She is guided by her core values, led by a sense of mission, and lives in hot pursuit of her purpose. She is powerful without overpowering others. She has invisible boundaries that don't become walls. They are containers for love. She serves at her highest level without neglecting her own needs. She gives more and adds more value from an abundant heart that is overflowing without being drained and depleted. She fails with fierceness without feeling like a failure, undefined by the outcome, using resilience as a launching pad. She is a confident woman showing up fearlessly to make a bigger impact. Her voice has become global. She can decree and declare things and establish things with her words. She is a world changer. The butterfly effect is real. One flap of a butterfly's wings impacts weather patterns on the other side of the world. Her presence shifts the atmosphere. That's what's possible for you, to walk into a room and your presence shifts the atmosphere. That is a part of soaring. And two more. My computer's about to die. She has evolved and emerged into her highest calling, and everything that was meant to destroy her has given her wings the strength to fly. She becomes a master collaborator, generating and circulating monetary wealth, working with causes and projects that are linked to her purpose, mission, vision, values, and goals. You have been summoned to soar. Schedule your clarity call today. I love you. I will see you soon. Keep the comments coming. Have a great day.